So this is a video inspired by another YouTuber, MPVT, which I'm going to put a link down there for you to hit her up and take a look at some of the videos. She does some really awesome cover tunes and songs, and she's just a wonderful musician. I'd love to hear some of her own stuff, because I know you're writing. I know you are, Kelly. Now, she's from Scotland, and she is starting to do this thing on Sundays where she talks about other things other than just playing music, which I don't mind if she just plays music, but it's interesting whenever she starts talking about other things. So, one of the things that she did was she talked about money. In specific, she talked about the Scottish pound, which is different than the English pound, although it's all based off of the pound sterling, and she'll explain everything if you just click down there. But wait till after this video. Now, Canada also has some currency. She mentioned that she was in Canada, but there have been some changes to Canadian currency, and I'll explain that as I go. But I'll just do a quick rundown of what how the Canadian currency is broken down, and I'll start off at the bottom. So let's go with the cheapest, the penny. It has maple leaves on the front, and yes, we're Canadian. We have a constitutional monarch. Yes, the Queen of England is the Queen of Canada, but under the Constitution, we don't really have to respect what she has to say all that much. So she doesn't get on the front of our coins. Instead, we put other things like the maple leaves. On the back is where you'll find the Queen's head, if the light will cooperate. Kind of there, sort of. And the penny was traditionally made of copper. It's not made of copper anymore. It's only kind of has enough copper in it to color it. And it costs more than 1 cent to make 1 cent Canadian, which 1 cent is 1/100th of a dollar. So they've actually discontinued these. They stopped making them, and in February the bank is going to start destroying all the ones that are turned in. They're not even going to bother giving them out anymore. So the penny is out, and I guess we move on. The next up is the nickel, which traditionally was made of nickel. It's 5 cents, 5 times the penny, and it has a beaver on it. And yeah, the beaver on the face, 5-cent coin. 5-cent coin you'll find in change very commonly. And it's, well, on the back also has the Queen's head. And it's going to be around for a while, I imagine. And yeah, it's a nickel. It doesn't get you much. It used to be able to get a piece of gum for a nickel, but I think even the price of that went up. So it's a good change maker, I guess. But we move on to the dime. The dime is a 10-cent piece, so 10 times the penny, and it has a schooner on the front. But not just any schooner, it's the Blue Nose. And the Blue Nose is, it was made in Nova Scotia, where I'm from and where I live. And it's a ship that kind of brought the nation together because it's an undefeated champion in tall ship racing. And then on the back we have the Queen's head. A dime is another thing that you find commonly in change. You can take your time to count them, same as the nickel, but you're probably going to piss off people in line. Most Canadians are getting on to using debit cards now, or credit cards, which I really don't like using, so I'm one of those guys that use a debit card. But moving up from the dime, move into the quarter. And the quarter is called a quarter because it's 1/4 of a dollar. It's 25 cents. And so it's got a caribou on it. And yeah, it's a quarter, has a caribou on it. Quarter has a caribou on it. That's him. And he's worth 25 cents. Canadians will get that. But on the back, of course, we have the Queen's head. So the quarter is something that you'll find very common around Canada. Used to be that that a nickel would get you a phone call and a payphone, then a dime. Now it's then it was 15 cents for a while, so you had to have a nickel and a dime. Now it's 25 cents, and in some places it's even going up from there, and payphones are starting to disappear because everybody has a cell phone. But a quarter is something that that you find pretty common in your change. Now, the next up is where we run into a change. Now, this is a change that I remember, but something tells me that when the inspiration for this video was in Canada, she probably didn't run into the dollar bill, the Canadian $1 bill, which I happen to have one. It's in a case, and I'm not going to take it out. Collectors will understand. But that's the Canadian dollar bill, which is no longer in circulation. You won't find these in your change or anything, but that's the Canadian $1 bill, which has a rather young-looking picture of the Queen on it. Go figure, this bill happens to be from 1973. So it's on the back, you can kind of make it out more that it was green, and it's got a picture of the Parliament Hill with a log drive going through the river. That does not happen in Ottawa anymore. Don't expect to see that if you're a tourist. But that's the fundamental base of Canadian currency, dollar bill, which is discontinued and replaced with the loonie, which some people in the trade markets and stuff will talk about the loonie. It's called the loonie because it has a loon on it. It's a $1 coin, goldish color, but it's not gold. It's also not one of those chocolate coins wrapped in gold foil, so don't try to peel it apart and eat it. You're probably going to break your teeth. But that is a loonie. And on the back, can you guess whose picture's on the back? Bet you're right. It's the Queen. And the $1 coin, very common to see around. It's the base of everything, but people don't usually spend a whole lot of dollar coins. They usually wait till they have a few together to make a purchase with a dollar coin, because the dollar doesn't get you much in Canada. So, moving on, we go to the next coin, which also replaced a bill. There used to be a Canadian $2 bill, which is brown, and because it goes from green, like the Canadian dollar bill, to brown, like the Canadian $2 bill, this is where Americans got into the whole monopoly money thing. But the rest of the world, you understand that it's very common to have multicolored money. And so the Canadian $2 bill was brown, and again had the Queen on it, and on the back had robins. And yeah, I have no idea what the Canadian $1 bill or the Canadian $2 bill is worth now. If there's any collectors out there want to put a comment up or something, you can let me know. But that has been replaced by the $2 coin, which is this. Also known as the toonie, a play off the loonie, toonie, loony toonie, yeah. And the $2 coin has a polar bear on it. And then on the back, yeah, you're right, it's the Queen. And now the toonie actually has a bit of a story to it, because when they first came out, the centers actually used to fall out if they fell a certain way. They hit their edge, they'd warp, and the center would pop out. The banks would actually give you like $5 to return a broken toonie. They fixed that now, so don't try to press them out or anything, because they actually test for that. And but the toonie, that'll get you like a coffee or something in a coffee shop. It doesn't get you a whole lot, but it's more common to see spent. And then up from that, we've got the even more common to be spent, the $5 bill. It's not replaced by coin, not yet. Don't you dare, Harper. Well, I guess if you got to have an extra 10 pounds in your pocket, it might as well be English pounds or Scottish. But no, the $5 bill, it actually, we get away from the Queen, and on the front of the bill we start putting the heads. And the this head is a former Prime Minister of Canada. And on the back, we've got people playing hockey. Again, part of Canada, stereotype, but it's true. Hockey's a popular sport here, and so they put it on the $5 bill. And the $5 bill, well, all the bills actually, they have Braille up in the corner. You see that? So we try to make it accessible to everybody, that they know what they have in their hand. And a $5 bill, I know I traveled a lot of places around the world, and people like to say, well, what's this worth or what's that worth? Well, I found that the most easiest way to explain what things are worth to people is to use bar reference. Yeah, it's sad but true. But a $5 bill in a normal bar in Canada will get you a beer or a single hard drink, and you might have 25 cents. If it's a cheap place, you might have 50 cents, which is 2 quarters, to leave as a tip. But that's about all you're going to get with a $5 bill, so they're usually spent in bunches too. Moving up, we've got the $10 bill, purple. Yep, and another former Prime Minister on the $10 bill. On the back, a tribute to the military and the service of the military, both veteran and current. And of course, it's involving the public. So, $10 bill, also common to be spent, common to see in people's wallets. But that's a Canadian $10 bill that, well, you might be able to buy lunch with it or something. And but the most common bill that you see people spending, because a lot of people, they get their money out of bank machines. In Canada, like the rest of the world, we've advanced. We don't do a whole lot of going to the bank on payday and cashing in your paycheck all at once and getting this done and that done and everything. We kind of do it all automated and then go in and pick up some loose cash, usually from a bank machine, though I encourage you to use tellers because it justifies their job. But at the same time, this is what the bank machines will give you, is a $20 bill, or multiple depending on how many you're taking, but it's denominations of $20. And we get the Queen on there again, but her name's not there. You'll notice on the other bills, it has their name and their title, and the Queen doesn't get that recognition. But we're Canadian. It's a constitutional monarch, right? So this $20 bill is replacing the old ones that, Kelly, you might remember the older ones, because this is actually fairly recent, that we changed over to a polymer that's commonly used in Chile, in Argentina, Australia. It's the same kind of polymer. So if you're in one of those countries, or you felt bills from those countries, that's the feeling you get. They like to stick together, so they're hard to count. They are susceptible to heat, so they do stretch and change shape and everything. People in Canada, we're indifferent about this. It's like, yeah, you can't tear it, but you can screw it up so many other ways. But it is kind of cool that you can see through it. You know, I could still see you, but yeah, and it's got the cool holograms and everything on it. And on the back of the $20 bill, we've got the tribute to Vimy Ridge, the monument at Vimy Ridge. So another Canadian milestone and heritage kind of thing. Also the poppies on either end. Again, sort of a tribute to veterans and fallen soldiers. And I know the UK uses poppies for remembrance, but Canada also uses poppies, and Canada uses poppies for the same reason you do, because of the poem In Flanders Fields, which was written by a Canadian soldier. Then moving up from the $20 bill is a bill that you don't see very often. A lot of people don't carry them around in their wallets. They're not spent a whole lot. Corner stores and stuff don't even like to take them, so you got to go to larger places, make larger purchases to use these bills. It's the $50 bill, which is red and has a former Prime Minister on it. And the same kind of security features. On the back, we have an icebreaker. And of course, icebreakers are part of Canadian heritage. We do the whole northern landscape thing. We do the whole northern seafair thing. So we put an icebreaker on the back of the $50 bill. I'm thinking because most of Canada has never seen an icebreaker, so we might as well put it somewhere where it's going to be seen. Although the $50 bill is not used a whole lot. Unless you're making a major purchase and you actually go to the bank to get one, because you have to talk to a teller to get one of these. You're not going to get it out of a machine, and you're not going to get it back in change. So then we move up to a $100 bill, and the $100 bill is brown. It's always been brown, so don't confuse it with the old $2 bill, how we're recycling the colors. We're not doing that in Canada. They've always been brown, same as the $2 bill has been brown. They were brown at the same time. And we have another former Prime Minister on there. Same security features, same weird plastic stuff. And on the back we've got a tribute to medical science, because medical science is also important in Canada, and we've made some good strides in that. So we're celebrating it on the back of the $100 bill, which is the most rare seen bill in Canada, at least common currency bill. And to give you an idea of what this kind of bill would do you in Canada, a couple of these would get you a decent hotel for one night. You're looking at $175 to $200 for a decent hotel room. A really nice one's going to cost you anywhere from 3 to maybe 10 of these, depending on what your tastes are. To rent an apartment in Canada, a one-bedroom apartment, you're looking at 5 or 6 of these each month. So if you're thinking about moving to Canada, watch out for that. But these are, again, you don't see them in people's wallets. They're not commonly spent. A lot of stores don't like to take them because they don't like to make the change on them. You got to go and see a teller at a bank to even get your hands on one, because they're never given out in change. Like, these are just never given out in change. If you want one, they might have one in a till at a casino or a bar or something, and you can ask to change maybe a bunch of these into this or something like that. But you're just not going to get that back in change. So don't expect to go make a purchase and get a Canadian $100 bill. You have to go to a Canadian bank. So that's a rundown of our common currency, and yeah, if you wanted to make a video of your currency, I'd be interested in seeing it. So just shoot me the link or drop it off as a reply. Put any comments down below if you're maybe a Canadian or maybe some sort of coin collector that knows a bit about Canadian currency and you got some interesting stories on what I showed. Then please let us all know. But yeah, I guess that's about it then, isn't it? Have a good one.